Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday, our first iteration. It'll be just a few minutes while people kind of jump on. We'll give some people a chance here. Go ahead and comment below if you're joining me here live. Just say hi so I know you're here. If you're catching the replay, make sure and type in replay and hi so we know you joined us post live. We'll give just a few minutes here. I'm just going to finish getting ready. I got my notes. So, be 1 second. There, light is a little bit better there, not quite so bright. So happy Wednesday. How is everybody on this beautiful Wednesday? Cold, but sunshiny and beautiful, and it's not blizzarding, so we'll take it. We are great here. Very, very, very busy. And Sarah says hi. Sarah is joining us today. She's going to be monitoring the comment section. So anybody that joins us live, make sure and say hi. We'll give you a shout out. And then if you have any questions or kind of burning topics, want to pick my brain on anything, go ahead and just put it in the comments and we'll try to get to that. We're going to go ahead and get started. So like I said, welcome to our first ever Wellness Wednesday. For those of you that know me, hello. For those of you that don't, I'm Dr. Becky, owner here at OsteoStrong in Sioux Falls. We're starting this kind of series every week because there's a, hi Phyllis, nice to join us today. But we're starting this series because we just get a lot of questions in center about what we do here, bone density in general, back and joint pain, posture, maintaining strength, and being active and well and healthy as we age especially. And just a lot about, how the system here works, how it's different from everything else, but then also a lot of questions about just health and wellness in general and things for people to be doing to help themselves in their general wellness outside of here, whether that's stress management or managing back and joint pain, talking nutritional supplementation, dietary stuff, helping people sleep, that kind of thing. So today, because it's our first week, and what I thought we would do while people kind of get used to this and questions start coming in specifically, I'm going to just cover some really common questions that we get repeatedly in here, whether it's from people who are just inquiring about what we do, or from our members, whether it's members that have been with us for a year or two, or members that are just starting with us, just common questions that continuously keep coming up. So a couple of housekeeping things while we're here. Again, if you're joining us live, make sure and say hi in the comments so we know you're here. This is going to happen every Wednesday, and so if you have a question, put your questions in the comments if you join us live. If not, there's a pinned post in the comments section for you to pre-submit your questions, or if you are a member, then you can always ask a question or have a specific topic. Just let us know during your session during the week when you're in the center. I'm a big note person, so that I make sure not to lose my place and don't forget the stuff I'm supposed to be covering. So if you see me glancing down, that's what I'm doing. So yeah, we're all amazing, but need some help every once in a while. So probably one of the biggest questions or misconceptions that we hear a lot, especially from people who are either newly diagnosed with a bone and joint challenge, or people who are really, really injury prone or just coming to us at the beginning, is, I'm still young, I shouldn't be having these types of issues. I've taken care of myself my whole life, I shouldn't have osteoporosis or osteopenia or degenerative joint disease or worn out knees or that kind of stuff. And so one of the things that we talk to our members a lot about is just kind of the life cycle of bone in general, and the life cycle of how our bones and joints and muscles and ligaments and tendons work. And one thing that just repeatedly surprises people is the fact that we actually reach peak bone mass, meaning we have the best and the healthiest bones we are probably ever going to have at about the age of 25 to 30. So prior to the age of 25 to 30, we're in kind of a continuous growth phase in our life. And that's growth in all aspects, whether it's growing taller, brain development, or bone and joint development. And so we're really good and really efficient at building new tissues and getting rid of old tissues. So that remodeling phase is just continuously going on and on. But at about the age of 25 to 30 years old, that starts to slow down. And at about the age of 30, we're pretty well done, and we've reached what we call peak bone mass. So wherever you're at an age of about 25 to 30 is as good as it's going to get. So that's why it's so important when you're younger, and especially our kids now, for you to be building up that kind of bone bank, if you will. So important for us to take care of ourselves and be physically active and getting proper nutrition and doing high impact and heavy strength training and weight training and that kind of stuff when we're younger, because wherever you're at the age of 30 is as good as it's going to get. From about the age of 30 to 50, so about a 15, 20, 25 year range for women, we hope to maintain. So hopefully our lifestyle and our daily choices help us maintain that peak bone mass. And then when women hit menopause, or around the age of 60 to 65 for men, but when women hit menopause, we start to see a pretty sharp decrease in bone density. And the reason for that is because it's kind of twofold. Typically, we start to slow down lifestyle-wise, so we're not nearly as active. But then the other thing that happens is our hormone starts to decline. So when you have that combination, we reach peak bone mass at about the age of 30. Hopefully we kind of level off for about a couple of decades, and then we're going to start to see a sharp decline. So I'm going to go ahead, and in the comments, there's a graph that really helps to visualize that. So that's one thing that really surprises people, and it really kind of starts to answer that question of, oh, so the sooner we start to take care of ourselves and the sooner we start to maintain that strength in all aspects, the better off we're going to be the older we get. And the answer to that is yeah. But that's why as we are kind of, going through the next handful of generations, and we're becoming a little bit more sedentary, less physically active. Most of our kids, and especially 20, 30 somethings don't have, the best diet. There's a lot of soda, a lot of energy drinks being consumed, and that kind of stuff. We're starting to see people having bone density and strength issues at a much younger age, and that's also why diagnoses like osteopenia and osteoporosis are, really on the rise in both men and women. So that's kind of one thing, a really common misconception that we get in the center. So I thought I would start there and just kind of clear up or answer any questions along those lines. So if you have any questions that's kind of been spurred from that conversation, then please, like I said, put it in the comments or comment on the pin post, and we can further that discussion if there's more clarification or you're wanting more information on that. Kind of the second most common misconception that we see or that we hear from people inquiring or from members, especially members who kind of get what we call surprise results or improvements that they weren't expecting, is that bone loss is silent. Bone loss actually is not silent. If we think about the purpose of our bone tissue, the purpose of our bone tissue primarily, it has a lot of different functions in the body, but primarily the purpose of our bone tissue is to hold us upright, protect our internal organs, but it also provides the attachment, right, for all of our muscles, ligaments, and joints. And so if we know that we reach peak bone density at the age of 30, kind of taper off, and then, hi Nancy, welcome. And then we kind of start to lose bone density right around that menopause age or as we get older. If we think about the purpose of bones, then we know that bone loss actually isn't silent, because if our bones start to lose density and get weaker, everything that attaches to those bones will also start to get weaker. Our bodies are amazing, miraculous things, and one of the kind of safety measures that our body has is our muscles will never be able to outpower our bones. So we will never be able to break our own bones. And the reason for that is simple. That's a safety measure. It's a guarding measure to keep us safe. So if we're losing bone density and our bone and our structure is getting weaker, it naturally stands to reason that the muscles, ligaments, and tendons that attach to those bones will also start to weaken. So some symptoms of bone loss, you know that you're starting to lose bone density, whether it's to the point of being diagnosable or not, whether it's to the point of osteopenia or osteoporosis or not, it doesn't matter. If you are starting to lose overall strength or overall endurance and stamina, you're going to be starting to lose bone density. So bone density issues are not silent. Some other symptoms of bone density loss is back and joint pain, because again, if your muscles and ligaments and tendons are weakening as well, everything that holds you upright and moves those joints is also going to get weaker, leading to more dysfunction and more pain. Being injury prone, loss of flexibility, loss of joint motion, just being really stiff and sore. Loss of reaction time or having slow reflexes, so that goes into balance as well. So if you trip, slower to be able to right yourself. It also leads to an increased fall risk. Change in posture, so we start to kind of slump over as I back up here. Decreased balance, like I said before, just an overall loss in strength, and one of the primary places that shows up is in our grip strength. A lot of people come to us and they've noticed that they're having a hard time opening jars, they're having a hard time getting like stuck doors and that kind of stuff open. And it also happens to be, hi Becky, welcome. It also happens to be one of the first things that starts to improve overall. And then a loss in height. So we know as we age, it's not uncommon for people to lose a quarter of an inch, a half an inch, and if you have osteoporosis, even up to 2 to 3 inches of height. Part of that is the posture, being slumped over. So if we can get you more upright, obviously we're going to gain some height. But if we can start to build up the strength of those joints back up, along with straightening up the spine and building up that a little bit more of that cushion, we're going to start to regain height as well. So bone density losses, bone is not silent. It talks to you. It just, you have to know what you're actually interpreting. So I see a lot of people joined us on live. I don't see any comments coming through yet. So I'm going to, again, if you have any questions about that, want me to expand at any of those points, want me to dig a little bit deeper, then by all means, send me a comment, send a question, topic, and we can. But third topic that we see or that we hear a lot, kind of just a really common misconception, is people who end up being diagnosed with osteopenia and osteoporosis in particular. Most of the time, if they've taken care of themselves and they've been really physically active, they're very shocked when they get that diagnosis. How could this have happened? I already exercise. I'm really, really active. I walk all the time. I swim. I do yoga. I do bar classes. I'm on the treadmill, that kind of stuff. We hear that a lot. And that's one of the biggest misconceptions out there, is all forms of exercise have their purpose. All forms of exercise will help with certain body systems. So walking and running are fantastic cardiovascular exercises. So they're great for strengthening your heart. They're great for flexibility. They're great for strengthening your respiratory system. They're not the best for muscular strength and bone density. And we'll get into that in just a second. Same thing, swimming and biking, phenomenal. For the same thing, walking and running is great. Great cardiovascular, great for flexibility, great for endurance, great stress reduction, great for sleeping. But those are what we call unloaded exercises. So there's no load on the bones. There's no load on the musculoskeletal system. So, i.e., there's no resistance against those tissues to stimulate growth. So, backing up, in physical medicine or just in healthcare in general, we've known for a very long time, really since the 1800s, that muscles and bones respond in growth, respond with load or resistance placed against them. So the more of a compressive force or the more resistance there is against those tissues is how muscles get stronger and how bones get stronger. So we've known that for a very, very long time. And so that's why we always say be physically active, be out there. The more you sit on the couch, the more you do unloaded things, the weaker you're going to get, and that only accelerates the older you get. We've already covered that kind of peak bone mass. So it really wasn't until about 2012 that a group of researchers set out to discover, okay, if we know that muscles and bones respond to loads placed upon them, exactly what does that mean? How much is that? Because if all it takes is walking, or all it takes is going for a light jog, or all it takes is lifting some 5-pound weights or doing some yoga, why are we having people getting weaker and weaker as they're getting older, and now to the point of being diagnosed with osteopenia, osteoporosis, bone density issues? If that's all it takes, it doesn't make any sense. And what they actually found is to stimulate bone growth and muscular development, myofibril development inside the muscle tissue, it takes a minimum of 4.2 multiples of your body weight in your hips, which is the most common fracture site. That's the fracture site with osteoporosis that we get really concerned about. But it takes a minimum of 4.2 multiples of your own body weight of load, of compressive force, continuous, repetitive compressive force to stimulate osteogenesis or new bone growth over and above, to outpace essentially over and above, hi Theola, what you're just going to naturally be losing, especially postmenopausal. That's a significant amount of weight. So if you weigh 150 pounds, I mean, we're talking 600-700 pounds of pressure in the hip joints and in the legs of the bones in order to stimulate that osteogenesis over and above. So that's, if you're a member here, you know, on that first machine, that's what we're looking for. That's what we call our growth trigger, is that 4.2 minimum dose response, minimum growth trigger to stimulate that bone growth. That's why it's so difficult for people to maintain and build bone density just in everyday life, because about the only types of exercise where you're going to be doing that consistently is like gymnastics or powerlifting. And of course, when you're younger, gymnastics and powerlifting is reasonable, although there's a high rate of injury, and gymnastics especially is really hard on your joints. But of course, as you get older, it starts to become much, much, much more difficult to do those types of exercises. And so that's really where the OsteoStrong system, the Spectrum system, is unique in so many ways. You know, it allows, obviously, you, if you're a member, you know this, but it allows you to load in every region of the body the amount of multiples of body weight, the amount of force, the amount of force in pounds to be able to stimulate that osteogenesis, that osteoblastic activity. So it's a beautiful thing, but that's one of the things that our members are, you know, what is that? No, how is this different? You know, remind me again, what are these growth triggers and how is this different? You know, why can't I just walk? Or, you know, why can't I, if I go out for a light run? So we also know some common exercises, kind of how much of a load is on the musculoskeletal system. So I'm going to have a graphic of that posted below as well in the comments for you to take a look at. But like walking, of course, biking and swimming is unloaded, so that's less than 1 multiple of your body weight. Walking is about 1 to 1.3 multiples of your body weight. If you really stomp and power walk, you can get up to that 1.5 range. You know, running is typically anywhere from 2 to 3 multiples of your body weight. So even if you're running, you're not going to reach that 4.2 multiples of your body weight. Gymnastics and powerlifting, and then of course the Spectrum system, the osteogenic loading that we do here at OsteoStrong, we get you upwards of that 4 multiples of body weight. So those are just kind of 3 really big questions and really big misconceptions that we hear repeatedly with new people coming in, and then also our members just kind of wanting refreshers on and how we're different and how this works and why it works and why it works so well. But also why this makes such a profound difference in people's lives. And it's because of that, if we can strengthen your structure, if we can strengthen your foundation, everything else strengthens right along with it. And then a lot of those symptoms, again, there's a graphic that'll be posted in the comments, but a lot of those symptoms associated with bone loss will start to improve and start to go away. So next week, if we have any comments, questions, we can go ahead and post those in. Otherwise, next week, make sure and ask your questions, or if you have a specific topic you want me to cover. Next week on Wednesday, from here on out, each week on Wednesday, I'm going to be going live. So anything you want me to cover, even if you don't think it relates to here, but it's a health and wellness question, please let me know. Next week, however, we're going to be talking about kind of another 2 to 3 areas that we get a lot of questions about just repeatedly, and some of that is vitamins and supplementation. So we'll kind of dive into that a little bit. And then the incidence of bone density issues, and then DEXA scans and T-scores, and what those mean, how to interpret those. We get a lot of questions about that and exactly what all those numbers mean. So next week, Becky, will be probably around this same time. It's a little, we're just starting this, and so trying to maintain with our coaches in center, making sure that it's not too busy with members and too loud. And so my intention is to do essentially noon each Wednesday, unless a different time, seeing we kind of get some feedback from members in a different time on Wednesday would be better for them to be able to show up live. Or we end up with a conflict, or we have a first appointment or something else. But yeah, my intention is hopefully around this noon, this lunch hour from here going forward. So, but there will always be Wednesday morning. The time will always be posted for sure. So we'll try to let you know if it's not going to be noon or if it's going to be a little bit later. It probably will never be earlier, but if it's going to be a little bit later, we'll try to let you know. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful. We're really excited about going forward here, especially picking your guys' brains, because really that's all we're here for, is you guys. And so if you have an area of conversation you want me to touch on, a question, a clarification, something new, you have neck pain and headaches and want to pick my brain about a pillow, it doesn't matter. This is all about you guys. So you let me know what you want to hear more about. Otherwise, I will just cover, I'm a talker, as you can see. I will just, cover whatever we get commonly in here as well. So I hope this was helpful. We're really excited going forward. And so every Wednesday from here on out. And then just so you guys know, if you can't make it live, no matter what, you can always revisit the replay on our Facebook page. But we will also be uploading this as a video on YouTube, and it will be getting emailed out to your email account as well. So you can always watch it on YouTube, or if you have a friend that's just not on Facebook or whatever, we can always just share it via YouTube video as well. So if that's it, if we don't have any other questions or comments, I am going to go ahead and sign off, and have a fabulous rest of your Wednesday. And we'll see you in the coming week during your sessions. If you have any questions, if you're new here and kind of interested in what we do, you can always schedule a first free session. I know there's a little message button on our Facebook page. Shoot us a message or give us a call. So, sayonara, have a great rest of your day, and rock it out.